Today's guest is Kenneith Perrin, blending pop, soul, dance, and gospel to lift spirits and move feet. From national tours to fan favorite singles like Mad Love and Never Had a Love, he brings heart, hope, and high energy performances. Stick around. This conversation starts now. This program is part of the Scene Project's podcast network. The Scene Project features interviews with independent musicians, comedians, and artists from across the Midwest. Become part of our community and support local art wherever you are. Well, welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today is Kenneith Perrin. Welcome to the show, Kenneith.
Hello. Glad to be here, Bubba. Appreciate the invite, man. Thank you.
Hey, this is great. The show's nothing without other people coming on to talk to me, so I appreciate you accepting.
Awesome. No, my pleasure, man. My pleasure.
That's great. Well, before we get into all the stuff that you're up to these days, I give you the floor here and let you give us a little bit of the backstory.
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Kenneith Perrin, inspirational pop soul singer, and been in music for more than a minute now. Started singing when I was just a little kid, performing professionally, and then as I got older, started kind of delving into writing my own songs, and ever since then, have just been trying to make it as an independent artist and kind of doing the best I can with the ever-changing music industry. So.
Well, and it's changed a lot since guys
Yeah.
like us have come into the world. For me, I graduated 2004 and
Okay.
music I wasn't necessarily like trying to be a rock star, but it was something that I had done,
Sure.
up to that point, and it was an interest that I had. But back in those days, as I'm sure you're aware, it was, well, you got to get a record deal. So you got to be in
Right.
Nashville or you got to be in LA and somebody's got to see you and you got to get found.
Right.
And then by the time 2008, 2009 rolled around, it was like, oh yeah, that's all dead. And
Totally.
now it's even more dead than it was then. But I feel like there's roadmaps for
Sure.
how to succeed in the music business now. I've always been very fortunate in South Dakota to get paid pretty well to perform live.
That is
So I've never
amazing.
done a lot of like pay to play,
Sure.
right? But
Sure.
it's a weird industry to have to work and live in, that's for sure.
And you just, I think you just completed an attendance at a songwriting conference, right? Was that like
I
recently?
I did, yeah. So
Yeah.
we had the Wild West Songwriters Festival
Wow.
out in my hometown of Deadwood, South Dakota. And
Oh,
what's
wow.
funny about that is all the time that I was living there, I never got invited. But as soon as I moved away and it was a 5-hour drive, all of a sudden the invitations started coming
Yeah.
in to come back and play.
Well, you you know the old saying, a prophet is not honored in his own country, so.
Or until he leaves there or
Right,
something to
exactly.
that nature,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
But yeah, what a great time. And I love supporting other songwriters. The only regrets from that weekend are that I don't get to be when you're playing in them. And I had 2 rounds each of the days and
Sure.
shows in the evenings that I didn't get to enjoy other people playing music as much as I would have liked to. But
Wow.
you take the good with the bad. I recorded all of my sets and I played about every original song that I have ever written, or at least that I would show to people. So I don't need to necessarily go back, or I have to write a lot more music to feel like
Sure.
I need to go back next year. So maybe
Sure.
I can do more of this for them, and I enjoy this a whole lot more. So
I can
so
tell, man. Yeah.
yeah, well, and I know that you're playing, obviously in a lot different genre than I do. What are some of the challenges for a, soul, R&B singer, as opposed to like a country rock band? I feel like it's pretty
Yeah.
easy for us to get gigs. There's plenty of honky tonks to
Sure.
go
Sure.
play in for people drinking beer, but do you
Sure.
find it's a little harder in the genre of music that you play to kind of find shows to stay busy?
I think so to some extent, and I think the only reason why that is because R&B has blended so much with hip hop. So when you say R&B, nowadays people automatically think more or less hip hop for the most part, but I'm kind of more old school, so my stuff is kind of more the old school um, sound for the most part, and the vocals too. So a lot of the modern kind of R&B stuff, I don't do as much. I just kind of stick more to the classics like Motown, or songs that kind of have that feel to them. So um, it and since that is the case, normally I just kind of say, I'm kind of pop R&B, because I do a lot of crossover stuff too, because my goal is, is to kind of pretty much go anywhere where you can entertain people, and if the music is good enough, they gravitate toward it, and it makes me feel like I've done my job. So anything I can do to kind of throw some covers out there, mix it with the originals to kind of give them a good time, then I feel like that's kind of my mission, really, to leave them uplifted, basically. So,
Yeah, and it's the same thing in the country world.
okay,
And I
okay,
do a lot more of that now than I used to, but it's same thing when I was playing, classic rock covers. You're kind of bringing them in a little bit
yeah,
and showing them a little bit of where you came from with the
right,
covers, but with the ultimate intention of playing and performing your original music.
right,
Now obviously you're going to have a few more, R&B clubs
sure,
in Georgia than we have in South Dakota. I can think of
sure,
one jazz club off the top of my head in the whole state. Maybe there's a few more
sure,
nowadays, but it kind of speaks to what you're saying as well, is that because of the and hip hop doesn't necessarily accept R&B. Like you're not getting a lot
right,
of
right,
traction in hip hop clubs
yeah,
as an R&B artist because that's not exactly what they're looking for. So I got to imagine
exactly,
that it's tough to really survive just playing in a small area. Now, I mentioned off the top that you've done some national tours. Is
sure.
that mostly in the South, or have you kind of been all over the country?
Well, I'm basically based in LA now, so that's kind of made a huge difference. Kind of exploring the West Coast as much as the East Coast. But national wise, I usually kind of try to do kind of best of both worlds. Start with the West, and then kind of gradually work my way over to the East. My best friend actually lives in Bellefleur. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. South
Belfouche,
Dakota.
close
Yeah,
enough,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
So, so he's like his name is Corey Bricker, and influencer sheep shearer, and he's like, man, you should come and do Sturgis, because Sturgis is like
Yes,
the big
sir.
festival that you guys have every year. So that's kind of been a dream of mine, to kind of do a tour where start west and then hit South Dakota and then end up back home on the East Coast, to kind of complete it. So yeah.
Well, you came to the right place. We spent 10 days out at the Buffalo Chip Campground, and that
Whoa.
is where they have the major concerts. Lainey Wilson is the big headliner they've already
Yeah,
announced for
man.
next year.
Wow.
So yeah, it's that first Friday in August. So as you're
Okay.
planning now, try to hit there, and then it goes for 10 days. So
Okay.
lots of gigs. You could definitely get booked somewhere, probably for
Wow.
2 or 3 shows if you wanted to and experience it.
That
I
would be
love that you
amazing.
have a friend in Belfouche. That's not too
Yeah.
far from where I grew up, and a lot of friends myself in that area. And Sturgis is a wild time. I mean, 500,000 plus bikers drop on the state every
Wow.
year. It pretty much, doubles or adds a third to the population, right, of
Oh
South
my
Dakota.
gosh.
And
Wow.
it's a pretty wild time, man. But it's full of music, and that's what I've always loved about it. I never had to go far to find a gig when I was living out on that side of the state. But now that I live 5 hours on the other side of the state,
Sure.
that it's fun to go back and experience it. I have friends that own a campground there. Shout out to Kathmandu Campground. They
Hey.
actually do some music and might be interested in having you out there. So we're
Oh,
gonna get you a
totally,
gig.
man.
If you want to play Sturgis, we'll start planning that tour right now.
That's my
Uh,
dream, man. That's my dream.
well, let's make some dreams come true then, brother. I love
Sure.
it. So Los Angeles now, from
Yeah.
Georgia, but living and working in Los Angeles now.
Correct.
What is the scene like there? I know I talked to a couple artists. Obviously, you guys had a much different relationship
Sure.
with COVID than we did out here
Yeah.
in South Dakota.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the music scene is coming back now and starting to be the vibrant scene that it once was?
I think slowly it's making a comeback. I think some of the challenges that we still face are basically just kind of making sure that, especially when we have like large festivals and everything, that we have the accommodations for people, and then making sure that we have enough backup talent too. Because I noticed recently some acts have come through, but they've had to cancel either due to sickness or tour malfunctions with the equipment, or there's always something. So I feel like if we could better equip ourselves to kind of just have a lot more artists on hand for those situations, I think that'll kind of help the music scene continue to build like it has been. But overall, I mean, I've noticed a lot of good turnout for different places. People seem to be enjoying the live scene a lot more as well, like they used to before COVID hit. So, yeah, there's hope. There's hope. So,
That's great to hear because I think as, you know, as a musician, as an entertainer, you know, Los Angeles is always going to hold a spot for
sure.
all of us. I actually spent a few months busking down on Venice Beach in my
No
early
way, man.
20s.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Man, every day going down with my guitar and just
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
for the beach and
yes.
bikinis, and it wasn't a bad life for a man that was 21, 22 years old.
Totally,
You
man.
know, unfortunately, we were down there because, I mean, we were traveling, we were pretty much homeless.
Sure.
So I needed to make, you know, $200 to $300 a day just to stay in a cheap motel on Lincoln
Sure.
Boulevard, right, or
Yes,
on Ocean, right? Like
totally.
it was a trying time, but that was the first time in my life where I really felt like I had value, right? Like
Yeah,
I found the value of my performance
yeah,
in that space because I was making that $200 to $300 a day playing
yes,
for tips. It was like, well,
yeah.
then this venue can afford to pay me $100, you
Thank
know,
you.
to
Yes.
show up with a guitar. And I'm very grateful
Yeah,
for that time because I feel like a lot of people early on in their careers,
yeah.
they don't have that and they don't feel like they're valuable,
Right.
and that's so much of what I'm trying to do now with my Midwest Original Music organization. And we're really trying to help young artists avoid the pitfalls that a lot
Yeah.
of us had to, because we lived in a time where the industry was totally changing, right? Like
Totally changing.
streaming wasn't a
Totally.
thing, you know,
Nah, it's like
YouTube was
streaming.
around,
What's
but
that? Yeah.
streaming wasn't it in
Yeah.
2000, you know, 6 and
Sure.
2007 when I was playing, and we were
Sure.
all still trying to print CDs and
Hey,
gosh,
there you
just the
go.
whole time. Now I just, you know what? I said, screw it. I put my
Yeah.
album out on my website. You
There
can
you go.
buy it right from there. I didn't even put it on Bandcamp. It's going out on
No.
the streaming, but I'm not
Right.
going to spend my time promoting these
Yeah.
other businesses that aren't ever going to support me and what I
No.
want to do. And even if
Exactly.
you make it, right, make
Right.
it, you're not making any money, and then they just kind of own you anyway. I've never been
Yeah.
after a record deal. I've been after connection with people. And I feel like
Right.
that's something you touched on with your, you know, with your performances and what you
Sure.
try to get out of a show. What
Sure.
does a typical Kenneith Perrin show look like? Are you performing with a full band or with tracks, or what is it like?
Yeah. I kind of usually it's a variety. I do work as a solo act as well as with the full band. The solo act stuff usually comes like for like churches, weddings, you know, the typical like you know anywhere you can get a gig kind of thing. You use your talents, right? But then the flip side of that is with the full band, which I really love. And basically, I usually open up with a song that kind of grabs their attention, a high energy kind of like you know, come on, get up off your feet, let's go kind of deal. And then gradually take it down mid tone and then maybe a ballad or two. And then we end on something that's either another high energy or maybe mid tone or something that just kind of has like a good message. Like lately, I've been doing Stand By Me by Bentley King, kind of ending a lot of my shows with that particular song. And then there's a ballad that I've written called We Can Forgive, which talks about forgiveness and things. And so I try to kind of keep it I talk a little bit. I don't talk too much, you know, because usually, you know, you always have like a 30, 45-minute set. So you can't do too much talking as much as you'd like to. But I just try to kind of get in, get out, and, you know, make sure that I feel like, you know, people are with me. I'm like, you guys having a good time? Are you okay? You know, just checking in, that kind of thing. So, and to me, that's the most important, man. I mean, like, you know, obviously we can do music, we can sing in the shower, we can play in the shower, but when it comes to being out in the world and having an audience in front of you, I feel like, you know, that's our mission is to share what we've been given and been gifted with so that others can kind of take that and um, you know, build from it, uh, be fulfilled from it, or just maybe sometimes just kind of need like a picker upper, or somebody's sad. You play a good sad song, but you're feeling good while you're hearing it, and that's like medicine. You know what I mean? So I've learned over the years never doubt what we're doing because you never know the kind of impact that you have with the gifts that you're using. So does that make sense? I mean, I hope I'm
Yeah,
making. Okay.
totally. It reminds me of a time, and maybe the first time, because I was such a young man and I had played in my dad's, rock
Sure.
cover band growing up in high school. And it was
Sure.
always just in smoky bars back when you could smoke in bars. And
Yeah.
but I was down on Venice Beach and I was, just playing me, and I was doing a song by Pearl Jam called Black, and a very
Ah,
powerful, emotional song. And
classic.
a gal had like, I could kind of see her. I was always very aware of my
Yeah.
surroundings, right? And I was always trying to like gauge what I was going to play as people were
Yeah.
coming. And this was a particular moment where there was really nobody around, and I was just kind of playing a
Right.
song for me. And that's one that means a lot to me, especially when you're a couple thousand miles from home, and
Sure.
you're maybe a little down in the dumps. And the gal had rode by on her bike going one way, and pulled off the beach trail and came and sat next to the bench right next to me and just bawled her eyes out. And
Whoa.
I was just like, all right, like, are you okay? And like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And she's like, no, it's exactly what I needed. And your performance of it was so moving. And it
Whoa.
was like, oh wow,
Oh
that's
my
the
gosh.
power that we have, right?
Yeah.
And for those of us that are called to play music, because I do
Sure.
believe most of us that stick with it as long as we have Kenneith,
Right.
and we're not at superstardom level, right? I think
Sure.
there's
Sure.
some people that achieve superstardom that never
Sure.
really liked performing that much anyway. They just kind of do
Right.
it. But then there's other people that do it their entire lives and never
Right.
achieve that we are called. And there's a reason for that. And it may be to, like you said, pick them up off of a bad day, or to
Sure.
remind them of a beautiful moment. And
Sure.
that's why I like playing cover music as
Yeah.
well, is because it triggers memories with other
Yes.
people. And
Yes.
your original music may never do that without a
Right.
lot of time
Right.
and bringing that in. So while I
Right.
love playing originals, I love being a
Sure.
songwriter, I also really love playing other people's music, because I
Yeah.
feel like that breeds a little bit more of that connection,
Yeah.
unless you have that superstardom and people
Sure.
have, listened to your own song millions of times, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you have to give people something to relate to. You know what I mean? So, and cover songs are definitely the best way to do that. I think. You know, definitely.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Kenneith, I know you're a busy man, and I am as well. I got your YouTube scrolling across the bottom, but tell all of our listeners where they can find you, and where they can find some more of your music.
Yeah. So basically, the best place is KenneithPerrin.com. That's my website, and then all my socials are listed on the EPK page there. And I'm also Instagram, my name, TikTok, my name. Basically, KENNEITH. Last name Perrin, PERRIN. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes with me today. I appreciate that. I hope to catch up to you in Sturgis next summer. I got your phone number now, so we'll be
Thank you,
talking.
man.
And I'd love to get you a gig, man. That would be absolutely thrilling to see my friend out there in the middle of South Dakota singing some R&B soul music. And
Sure.
we don't
And
get enough of it out here, as I'm sure you can imagine. So,
and
Kenny,
um and likewise for you too. If you're ever in Augusta, especially for April during the Masters or whatever, my folks worked hospitality with them for a while. So if you need
I
some
just
gigs while you're
covered
there
my
that week,
first PGA Tour event with my Scene Project Sports Network here in
whoa,
South Dakota.
no way,
Just
dude.
a few, man, that would be unbelievable to be
Yeah,
able to go and to check
yeah.
out the Masters. So
Well,
that's a fantastic offer that I'm definitely going to take you up on.
totally, man, totally.
Um, Keneth, thank you so much for being part of the scene.
My pleasure, man. And thank you for having me. And hope you have a blessed day today, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.